Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics video on the channel. Trade Talk is back for another week and round 3 is upon us, and round 2 was a bit chaotic, particularly for me. If you didn't see how I went in round 2, then make sure you go and check out my round review, because it was a bit of a doozy, unfortunately, with Tom Stewart and a few other things not quite going my way, but we move forward, we push on, and hopefully can make some good trades and move in the right direction and move up in rank in round 3. And hopefully you guys, if you had a bad round, can continue the rise, or if you had a good round, hopefully you can continue that ascendance up to the top of the rankings. Let's go through, well, obviously, as always, we'll go through the top traded in and out players of the week, and then my top 5 targets as well. And then my trades and what I'm looking at doing. So without further ado, let's get stuck into who is the most traded in players this week. So at number 1, Ted Closey is the number 1 option. So surprising that only like 9.3k is the most traded in player for this week. So normally we see someone's well over 10k, like 12, 13, 14k. But you can clearly see there's a lot of players over 2,000. So a lot of people are going in a lot of different directions, which is quite interesting when you look at how different people's team, and showing how different people's teams are at this point. But Ted Closey at number 1, low break even, scored 91 from like 50% game time or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. 57% game time's wicked. Like 2 goals, 16 touches was good. The thing that worries me is his job security, right? So he wasn't even in the team, came in, played well, was a starting sub, only came on when Tom Stewart got subbed out. That's my worry, but his break-even's minus 14. If he can, even if he just goes like a 60 for the next couple of weeks, he's making you well over 100k. So it could definitely be a play to make some quick cash. Obviously, the risk with going a guy like him is that he could be dropped or be the sub at any point. So it would just be something I'd be considering with a guy like Ted Closey. But at the end of the day, he's put up a good score, low break even, and if you're looking for a mid forward to put onto your bench, I think he could be a potential play there for a bit of a cash grab. Number 2, Xavier Lindsay. No, okay, there we go. Finally disappeared off the screen. Xavier Lindsay at number 2. I think it's as simple as if you don't have him, jump on. This is probably almost the last week to get on him. Like if he goes 71, he's making roughly 75k. So again, that'll put him over the 500k marker, and you're probably not looking at it. He's owned by 27%. So a few people still haven't jumped on. I'd be making it a priority to be bringing a guy like Xavier Lindsay in. He's going to make bulk cash over the next month. Looking good as well. Role looks good. He looks good. So yeah, it's as simple as jump on if you don't have him, and this is almost the last week to do it. Number 3, Mitch Never. Almost similar, could be said that this is almost the last week to jump on. 4.3k jumping on him. 544k. If he goes, 64, he's making 50k, and he's going to be near 600. So with my trades, I'll go to him after. I'm not currently bringing him in. I don't own him. I'd love to be bringing him in, though. But he's already gone up 113k. If he goes up another 50k, that's nearly 160k made already this season. And that value of starting him is gone. You're bringing him in when he's quite a bit more expensive, and who knows what happens. So if I have a third trade this week, he would be coming in for me. It would be literally someone just downgraded to him would be the play I'd be doing. But unfortunately, it's currently looking like I won't be jumping on him. But he's a good option. Obviously, 100 backed up by an 80 was good. He was on 75 at 3/4 times. That could have been bigger. Had a bit of time on the bench. Didn't have many CBAs in the last quarter, which, as a non-owner, maybe a little bit of a flag that when Geelong needed to win the game, he wasn't one of the 3 they put in there. It was Dangerfield, Atkins, and Holmes were the main 3, and even Jai Clark got more CBAs in the last quarter. So that was interesting to note in the last quarter that those guys were ahead of a guy like Nevitt for CBAs. But whether that's a sign of if they're down against Brisbane that Nevitt will be more on a wing or half forward or something like that, or if that was just the sort of circumstances on during the game, I'll be interested to see. But Mitch Nevitt, either way, I think he's a good option to be bringing in. Break even at 8, he'll make some good cash. Joel Frazier at number 4. Obviously, I started him, but a few people brought him in over the last couple of weeks and backed up his 103 with a set. Was it 103? Is that what he got for round 1? I think it was 103. So yeah, 103. Yep, in the first game. Game time was a little bit low. It was 80%, so it's a little bit lower, but still not not too bad. 75, not too bad. Made some good cash, 31k. Even if he's get 64, he makes near 20k. But obviously, at that point, he would start to slow down. So the hope is he can keep going at this 75, 80 plus scoring rate, which I think he can. I think even in a role where he's playing midfoot and half back, I think that both those positions he can score in. And if he can keep going for the next 3-4 weeks, make another 100 or so K, that'd be ideal. And the people that started him have got the full benefit of the 64K he's made this year. But if you're jumping on him now, you're wanting him to be probably maintaining that 85 to 90 scoring rate. Otherwise, you're probably thinking, well, he's probably going to not make as much cash and he's going to stall a little bit. So I still like Fraser. I think you can still get him. Maybe the last week again. A bit like a few of these guys, maybe last week they're looking at bringing him in. Connor O'Sullivan is next at number, the fifth most trading player, and 5 players over 3.1k trade-ins is obviously showing how spread it is. But break even is 0. Scored well last week with the 75, albeit that was against St Kilda, so good matchup. And then he scored a 50 against Freo in a high-scoring game. So my worry with him is the fact he's got Brisbane for 1. Bad conditions is 2, like it's going to be raining heavy. And 3, I think guys like a College Jasny are 1 to 2 weeks away. Whether Connor Sullivan's the guy that gets bumped out for a College Jasny or someone like that when they come in. My worry is if he drops a stinker this week in the bad conditions, he ain't making very much cash, and then that break-in's going to shoot back up again. So for me, with the fact that he's got Brisbane and it's wet weather, I'm probably not looking at it. But if he was playing I don't know, like a Gold Coast this week or something like a good matchup, I'd be more than happy to jump on board. But just the tough matchup, wet weather, I'm probably just a bit nervous jumping on him this week. But if you need a cash grab on the bench, I don't mind bringing a guy like him in. Nasir at number 6, 2.7k, jumping on him this week. I like him. You're going to get the sugar hit of the Richmond matchup this week. I think he'll put up a good score against Richmond. He's got all the chance to put up a ceiling score here. It's the only thing that, because I was looking at bringing him in this week, right, for a guy like Perryman. The run from after the Richmond game, Port, Giants, Bulldogs is good, but Brisbane, like the next month, Brisbane's the only good matchup after the Richmond game. Then Freo, Carlton, and then he's got a decent run before the bye. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. That 3-week patch from round 5 to 7 from rounds 4 to 7 isn't great, but I still think he can go well enough that it could still be worth it. So I like him. He's priced at 104, which obviously if you think he's going less than that, maybe you don't go him. But I think he can go 105, 106. That's probably best case. You're not getting a huge amount of upside, but I think defense is very tricky this year, that we're not really looking for as much upside. We're almost looking for guys that we're happy to sort of have there and sort of lock away. And I think Nasir Wanganeen-Miller is definitely one of those guys. So I like him. Jordan Dawson, very interesting. 2.5k jumping on him. He's had a cracking start to the year. 134, 126, average of 130 over 2 weeks. So the owners that started him have got those 2 massive scores. They've probably VC or seed him in both those games, and you've got a lot of points on the board. If you don't own him, I don't think I'd be trading into him, because he's priced at like 117 or something. Like, it's really high. Like, he's priced quite highly. Obviously, he's got good matchup against North this week, and then he's got Gold Coast and Geelong. So a few decent enough matchups there, but a 2 could go to him next week, and then a Mark O'Connor could go to him the week after. So there is a potential for something like that to happen. Obviously, we've seen with Dawson, he's very, very hard to tag, particularly when he's playing in the midfield and roaming around the ground. I think at this time of the year, we're looking for value, and I don't think Dawson offers the sort of value that you could get with a cheaper player. And as funny as that is for me to say as an owner, I just think that, and it probably comes down a bit team dependent as well, right? If you don't have many of these big guys that you are really happy to lock in, by all means, you could go like a Will Day, like a Perryman. If you've got like a solid back line, and you could go Perryman down to a rookie and go Will Day up to Dawson, I could tick it off, right? I wouldn't say no to that. I'm just thinking, could that cash be used better elsewhere? Could maybe the 250k or so that you save on him and going and getting a Tom Powell, could that be better for your team? Or even if it's not Tom Powell, like if it's a Finn Callahan or a Chris Petrarca, someone like that in the cheaper price range, could you do that instead of getting a Dawson? I think he's going to be great, right? I said pre-season that he's averaged 113 or more when he's had 50% CBAs. I think it's like 115.6 when he's averaged 60% CBAs, and that's exactly what he's doing in the first couple of weeks. So if you think he's going to continue that and average a 115, 120 and take the season away from you, you could go there. But all he needs is a 60 or a 70, a bad score, and that break-even should back up to like a 140. But the thing is with Dawson, I don't see him getting like 900k cheap. Okay, he might go to like 1.05 million cheap and maybe drop 70, 80k, but I don't see him dropping below a mil unless he drops an absolute stinker or has an injury-affected game. I think he'll stay at an expensive price. So if you want to bite the bullet and just get him in now, then there's a play, right? Like, so Northerby should be good. I don't know who would go to him, if anyone. Like maybe like Will Phillips won't go with a guy like Dawson. I think Dawson will be way too good for him. But then they've got Gold Coast, maybe does Toot do a job there. Then Geelong, Mark O'Connor could do a job. Then Bedford, Freo, O'Meara's been doing some jobs. Again, I don't know if O'Meara can go with a guy like Dawson. George Hewitt, Willem Drew, Collingwood, do they use like a side bottom or Perriman or something like that? So there are going to be games where he gets attention, right? But then again, you could go through all of them, right? You could say maybe a Graham or a Duggan goes there, a James Jordan, maybe a Berry, a Connor Nash. Like there's guys in pretty any team that can do a job, right? It just depends if they even do it or if they just go, we're going to go head to head. So, but I think Dawson's a good enough player to get past those anyway. So if you want to bring him in, you can. I just don't know if that's the sort of trade I'd be doing at this time of the year. Number 8 is Tom De Koning, 2.5k, jumping on him. Not much really needs to be said with him. 2 really good scores to open up the year. That 107 could have been bigger. He got stuck on the bench, I believe, in the last quarter. So that could have been a 120, and all of a sudden we're looking at a guy that's averaging 125 over the first 2 weeks. He's got some good matchups coming. So English this week's a great matchup. Then he's got Collingwood, Dusty Cameron, and Mason Cox isn't amazing, but I think he'll go okay. Then West Coast, a good matchup. Obviously, North, hard. Then he goes Geelong. So the run is just so good. I was trying to hold in a yawn. I'm trying not to yawn because, again, it's getting a little bit late. It's not as late as what I normally record it. So, but just being at work today is there. So we'll carry on. We'll keep going. Tom Power is at number 9, most trading player, 2.2k jumping on. I really like this pick. I'm still kicking myself because if I went and started Levi Ashcroft over Sam Wicks, and then I started Lindsay over Hasty, I'd be 2 trades ahead of where I should be, and I'd be looking at a guy like a Tom Power, potentially last week, but even this week. I think that 98 is not really indicative of how well he played. I think non-owners were lucky that he didn't get to a bigger score, and I think owners probably would find themselves a little bit hard done by that he didn't go 120 because he was good once again. It was just the marks and tackles that were down. Like he had 7 and 8 the week before. He only had 2 and 2 last week. Had more disposals though and low game time. That takes a bump. His marks and tackles take a bump. I think is a great option and someone that I would really like to bring in. And I can this week. I can bring him in. It just depends that I've got 2 other trades I do like, which I'll talk about after. At the moment, I'm just not quite doing it, but I like the play. He's a bit more of a unique as well, which is great. But at the end of the day, maybe I can just do it next week as well. Because what's he priced at? He's priced at, so break even 64. Okay, he might be like near 900k, but I still think that's, you can probably still bring him in at that point. But I don't mind him anyway as my microphone. Sorry, my headphone. Hang on, give me a sec. There we go. The headphone thing just got disconnected, so apologies. Doing this on the fly. But yeah, Tom Powell, I'm a big fan of, and I think he's a great option to be bringing in. And coming in, is this number 10? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yep, number 10 is Connor Rosey, 2.2k jumping on. He's now at 1.05 million. So he's gone up, well, essentially he's 1.047. So he's gone up a little bit, 51k. Obviously, the bad thing about trading into him now is you've missed that Richmond matchup. You missed the pop score. And obviously he's been great, right? He's 112 in a thumping against Collingwood, and then 145 against Richmond. 2 good matchups to come in Essendon and St Kilda. Do they send a Durham or a Windy to Rosie, or do they go to Hornbag? That's the question. Or do they even worry about tagging all with these 2 guys? I think Rosie isn't the guy they're going to tag. I think he'll still be going okay. Again, A little bit like Dawson, though. Are we paying up for guys like this at this time of the year? I think he's priced at near the, like, getting closer to the 110. I think it's like, might be like 107. I think he's priced at. So he's getting up there in price. So it just depends, right? If you see him being a top 8 mid and you're happy to pay up that little bit more, then actually, no, it's not. It wouldn't be like that. Actually, it might be like a 104, 105 price tag actually now. Yeah, it is more like, actually, it is more like that. I was probably a little bit overs. Yeah, like if you think he'd be a top 8 mid, I think he's still slightly unders. If he's priced just under 105, then he could be like a closer to 110 maybe. So if you think he's that, you could jump on. Obviously, it just sucks though. You're missing the pop score against Richmond, and he's got a couple of games where he could go well, but he could also get some attention. But I like him as an option, and I'm more than happy to be trading him in. Some of the other players quickly, I'll just touch on. McRae, if you don't have him, it's as simple as just jump on him. 2.1k jumping on him, and I would have liked to have thought you would have started with him, but if you don't have him, he's a high priority because he looks fantastic. 153 last week was great. Richmond, this is the gravy matchup. If you don't have him, you want to bring him in for. Sam de Koning, I wouldn't jump on now. Not with Brisbane and Melbourne as the next two. Tom Stewart, obviously I'm an owner. I hope he plays this week, but whether he does or not, it's obviously the question. Is a test this week. If he wasn't to play, I would be shocked if Geelong don't bring in a Stanley and send de Koning into defence. And if he's in defence, I definitely wouldn't be touching it. And you've missed out on the good cash gen that he's made over the first 2 weeks as well. And as I said, Brisbane into Melbourne isn't great. So I'm probably looking at other options as well. Like, so he's priced in the high 600s, isn't he? Like, yeah, 669. If you had the 25k, I'd almost go for a Jake Bowie or Bowie. I'd rather go for him instead. You could even go for a Fraser instead. I'm just a bit nervous with the two matchups to come, and Geelong have said that Stanley's going to play footy. It just depends when, so that's why I wouldn't be jumping on him. Finn Callaghan I like coming off the bye. Couple of decent scores, like a 110 and then like a 90. So I think he'll be good. I think he's unders 844. I'd rather a Tom Powell, but if you've already got a Tom Powell, I don't mind jumping on a Finn Callaghan. I think he's a good option. Salem, he's started really well, right? But he's done this before, and then he just drops a 60 out of nowhere, and that cash gen stops, and then he might even get injured. So Salem, we've seen enough of him to know that he's a guy that's probably capped at like 90, at best 95, which if he was to go 95, right, it's a good pick. And I think Salem is definitely a guy that we can look at. But the next guy to Kane Farrell, I'd prefer over him. And Salem, we've seen this before, and he'll put up a bad score. So I probably wouldn't go there. But a Kane Farrell, I'd be happy to jump on. Obviously, he's gone well the first 2 weeks. So he went 114 and then an 87, if I'm not mistaken. So a couple of decent scores to start the year. Obviously, some great matchups as well in that to help. No, 88. He's got, Essence and Kilda. So 2 great matchups to come as well. So he definitely can make some cash. He can definitely go well and I guess get close to the top 6 the next couple of weeks. But can he maintain that after is the question. I think to an extent he can. I think he can go 90, 95 and at that sort of average, he could be a pretty solid pick. If you think he goes less than 90, I probably wouldn't be picking him. That's what I'd be asking yourself. Can you go 90 plus? If yes, I think he's a good pick. If not, I probably wouldn't be going there. And a few others as well. Like Zorko is expensive. Just the weather against Geelong is not great. That's the only thing that makes me nervous. But hey, he's an absolute jet. He loves his halfback role. 126. I know that, as Calvin said on the pod, he had a 12-point first quarter and had like a 50-odd point second quarter. So he was fantastic. That the run is disgusting. Like, it's so good. Like Richmond, Bulldogs, Collingwood, St Kilda. Like, that month is all the best matchups in the month, back to back to back to back. Is just ridiculous. I'd love to, and then he's got Gold Coast, which is also another great matchup. So yeah, like I'd love to bring him in, but again, break-in's 111. If he put up a 60, he's going down a lot, and his break-in is going to be sky high. So that's obviously the flag with the good matchups. Obviously, that is less likely to happen, but we just know 36 years of age. He's had a history of obviously soft tissue. Not much last year, but it's there. Could something potentially happen with him there as well? Saligo has been great. I just don't know if he can put up these consistent scores. And if you started with him, great. You've got a 113 average from someone. He's gone up 79k, but how much more can he go up? And and can he be consistent? That's my only question. If you think he will be, then by all means jump on. I'm just not sure. And a few of these other guys, well, good options. Like Jake Bowers, a good option. Max Hall, as a downgrade, is a good option. O'Driscoll. Jackson, I wouldn't be touching with Darcy expected back within a couple of weeks. Caleb Daniel, if you don't have him, you've got to jump on. Chera's solid. Levi Ashcroft, Jack Sinclair, Isaac Rankin, Lawson Humphreys, Bailey Smith. Like, they're all great options, and I'd be happy to be jumping on any of those besides Luke Jackson. Moving into the most traded out players, no surprise that the two most traded out players are Harry Perryman and Will Day. Harry Perryman being the main one, being the fact that he's on bye. He's dropped back-to-back 40s. He's just got to go, I think. I don't want to be holding him past this week, so he is a high priority. Will Day, on the other hand, obviously Bedford tag's not great. Then he's got his bye, then he's got Port. So a tough 3-week stretch coming up for Will Day. There is a world where you definitely hold him and he can maybe repay the face when his run opens up after the Port game, round 5, so from like round 6 to round 10. But yeah, that Bedford tag scares me. Like, his break-evens in the 80s. If he drops like a 40 like he did, I think, last year when he was... I know he was a little bit injury impacted last year, but if he was to drop 40, he's losing a lot of cash. His break-even shoots right back up, and then he's almost doing a lot of that good work that he did, even with that 120 in round 1. So for me, I think if you're in a position where maybe you got rid of a few of the guys we're going to talk about here, or you got rid of a Perryman and Will Day sitting there, I think him to Tom Powell is a great trade. That's one of the ones I'm considering doing, if I can make it work. And I think if you can do that, I think it's a great trade. Even a Will Day to a Finn Callaghan, Will Day down to a Nevitt or an O'Driscoll, to a Lindsay. There's plenty of pivot points that you can go from with Will Day, and I think that you can definitely trade him out, that's for sure. Hugo Garcia, if he's not in the sub, I think you keep him. Richmond this week, obviously, would be in your forward line more than likely. I think he can put up a solid score against Richmond, and I guess maybe get the cash gen back on track. His break-even's up to 49, so that's the worry. You hold him, sub again, he drops in price. But I think if he's not sub, I think you can definitely keep him. I think they play the second game on the Saturday, so you probably will know before you have to do many of the trades. So, yeah, just a watch on teams there. Ollie Hollins is next. I think he's got to go. 4.3k jumping off, and rightly so. 48 last week is not great. I traded him last week for the weather, but it wasn't actually the weather that was the issue. It was actually just he got burnt. Whether it's not experienced enough in the role, it's just not clicking at the moment. And at the end of the day, he lost cash last week. His break-even's up to, 74? That's not awful, but if he drops another 40 or 50 again, he's going down near 600k, and just not the time of year to be, I guess, hoping that it just turns around. I think you want to jump on the mid-pricer or the rookie that's popping, and there's plenty, which obviously we just discussed before, that I'd be happy to be trading him too. Next is Jason Horne-Francis. Okay, so he's low priority. He's not a priority to be trading out. But if you don't have a Perryman, if you've traded maybe you traded a day already, or you didn't start a day, maybe you don't have Garcia or Hollins. If you don't have a few of these guys and Horne-Francis is there is definitely a play where you could trade him out. You're not going to make much going him to Rankin, but if you go him to a rookie, I'm just trying to think, is there any mid prices? Don't think there is. That not in the forward line. Like, obviously you got Warner, who's on bye. No, there's not really any mid prices in the forward line. We've all pretty much got them. So if you're trading out a Horne-Francis, it's probably got to be someone like a Rankin if you don't have him, or you're going right down to a rookie, which you could do. I just think it's low priority. And a lot of us have got bigger issues, right? But hey, if he's your biggest issue and you can go him out, I couldn't argue with it. He hasn't been great. Just with the 60 odd last week, like, come on, like 62 against Richmond, like, got to be doing better than that, surely. Finn O'Sullivan, a few people jumping off him, and I've considered doing the same as well. 33 last week, break-even is 31, break-even's 31, so he only outscored it by 2 points this week. He just doesn't have the same sort of confidence and thirst that Harry Shees and Koi McKercher have had when they're demanding the ball and little short plus sixes. Finn O'Sullivan isn't even asking for like the plus sixes. He's just sort of wandering around the middle of the ground. And he's had the halfback role all year. He's been full-time halfback. It's just, it hasn't clicked yet. And I've got a bit more confidence that Finn O'Sullivan can click a bit quicker than what Ollie Hollins does. And he's at a cheap price, so you can probably afford to hold him on the bench and wait for it to click. But If getting rid of him over like a Hasty, for example, for a few people can get you the upgrade you need, I'd be more than happy ticking it off and trading him, because I don't know if he's necessarily going to turn it around anytime soon and make bulk cash quickly. And hey, you trade him, he goes 100. I think you can bring him back in. Obviously, it would suck, but I think you can bring him back in for sure. Riley Sanders, yep, he can go. Roll's not great. I think, again, he's more of a lower priority than a Hollands and a Day and a Perryman and guys like that. But I think that he can go if you've sorted the issues. I think he goes before Horn Francis, because then the day Horn Francis, I still expect to be a top 6 forward or top 8 at least. Sanders, unless that role takes a big shift, I just don't see it getting much better. So I'd be happy to be trading a guy like him. Same with the James Peatling, who only scored a 41 or something last week, which is... Look, that's a bad score. Yeah, 41 against Essendon when they won fairly well. His CBAs aren't as high as what I thought they would be. So for me, he can go. Matt Roberts, I wouldn't be trading. I'd be holding. Obviously, he's averaging 93. Got a 95 on the weekend. He's got North and then North and Collingwood. I think it's North and Collingwood. North Collingwood. 2 good matchups after the bye. Port's not great, but then Gold Coast is good. Giants not great, but then Essendon's good. So it's literally up and down. Giants not good, Essendon good. Carlton not good, Melbourne good. Adelaide not as good, Richmond good. So he's got a decent enough run after the bye. He can still make a little bit of cash, but he's averaging 93. So I would not be trading him. I know he's on bye, but I'd be holding through his bye and taking a rookie score this week and holding him in your team there. So that's a 2, 4, 6, 8. 9. So, 10th most traded out player, Lloyd Meek. Again, going him out this week before his bye. Getting a De Koning or even a Marshall as a smoky pick or a Cherry or something like that. I think that's a good play this week. Like, he's dropped, I think he dropped like it was quite low, wasn't it? Is it back-to-back 60s that he's dropped? Yeah, 63, 65. I know he went at 110. That was against a pretty battered up Grundies. So I'd be happy to trade him. I think he can go. Nick Dacos, I'm not trading. I know he's on bye, and I know he's got Sydney after bye, but I'm not trading him if you've got him. Tom Stewart is the interesting one. So I've got Tom Stewart, obviously, as people know. To trade or not trade Tom Stewart? So the Brisbane matchup, as I say, it's tricky. And with the wet weather, if he played, is he 100%? That's obviously the question. His break-even's like I think it's like 140. It's a high break-even. That's the worry with the high break-even, that if he puts up a 60 or a 70, he's going down a fair bit. Obviously, like as an owner, I've lost a lot of money already, right? I've lost 70, essentially 69k this week. Well, not essentially. I have lost 70k from him this week, essentially. I just completely got mixed up then. I've lost 69k this week from him dropping in price, which sucks. But I'm also thinking at the same time, okay, if he drops a bit, I'm probably going to want to trade him back in anyway. And he'll be in the 700s, and people will be targeting him when he gets that low, because this happens every year, right? He has a low score, drops in price, gets in the 700s, and we're thinking, well, he's priced at in the 70s. He's going to go 90 plus. We'll trade into him. So part of me's thinking, I just hold him. I don't think he plays this week. I can't. I know he's a test, but I guess the positive is his test that he might come back in. Might come back in at least next week. And he still might play this week, right? But I just don't know if he will. I think they might give him the week off. And we'll know if he flies up to Brisbane or not. And if he flies to Brisbane, he'll probably play. But if he doesn't, and I'd almost rather him doesn't, because I'd rather him play Melbourne at GMHBA and have a better matchup to not go down as much than play this week against Brisbane in the wet and drop a bit. I'm probably holding it if I'm an owner. I know that we got stung with like the Tom Greens and the Connor Rosees last year when they came back from injury and it sort of just lingered. And if you're nervous with that, and I'm a bit nervous with that as well, I think you could trade. But I just think there's bigger issues. I think Perryman's a bigger issue than him. I think that even a Will Day may be bigger. And people are probably going to say, well, Will Day's not injured. Tom Stewart potentially is. But more meaning, Will Day, you could go to a better midfielder. Tom Stewart, unless you've got the cash to go up, who are you going to that you're really happy with? And I think Perryman's a bigger issue in defence to deal with. Maybe Sam Taylor if you've got him as well. So for me, I'm probably holding, but it's very team dependent. If you're happy to trade, I couldn't argue against that. He got injured at the end of the day. and he's got a tough matchup, so you could look to move off. So it's a tricky one, but I couldn't blame you if you traded off of him. Darcy Cameron, again, he can go to TDK if you don't have him, or you can even go to a Marshall if you want to be a little bit more unique. Maybe it's a Cherry. I don't know if I'd trade into a Gawn. I wouldn't trade out of a Gawn, I don't think, so he's next, but I'd be happy to trade out of Cameron. Gawn, I don't know. It sounds like something was going on behind the scenes last week with Gawn. I mean, obviously, we don't know what it is, but Gold Coast, obviously, is tricky. Well, it's a tough matchup. Then he goes Geelong, Essendon. That's not great, but then he goes Freo, Richmond, West Coast. Like, it's a very nice run up until round 8 for Gawny. So I'd probably hold the faith with him and hope that in one of those Geelong or Richmond or one of those matchups he can go big. It's particularly next week against Geelong, right? If he's up against De Koning, he could go massive. So I'd be holding him. The other guys though, Wicks, Hobbs, Taylor can all go. If you did start a Heaney, I probably don't know what's he averaging, 87. Yeah, to be fair, he probably could go. I don't see him at top 8. He's on buy. He's dropped a little bit in cash, but he's still at a decent enough price. Him down to like a Powell or a Callahan or something can make you some cash, and maybe that helps you on the other end. So he's one that I probably could trade if your team's in a good spot if you own him. I'm surprised at nearly 10% own Isaac Heaney, actually. It's a fair bit more than sort of what I expected. So I'd probably be happy to move off of him. And Harvey Langford, just keep an eye on if he gets named. Like if he got named with Melbourne losing, I'd be probably holding if he's not the sub. But if he's a sub, obviously, then he would be a trade then. In terms of my top 5 targets for the week, it is. I know I said I'd give my top 5, but it's so tricky, right? So tricky to give a top 5 because so many teams are so much different. Teams are doing different things, so it is quite tricky. And part of me does wonder why I do the top 5 targets every week, just because it's so team dependent on who you bring in. But I guess the guys I like in no particular order, the 5 I like. I think if you don't have a Levi Ashcroft and Lindsay, they would be the high priority to bring because it's probably the last one you can do. If Bailey Smith was a plane, you trade him out, he would also be another pretty high priority. O'Driscoll and Nevitt, both those guys have still got a little bit of cash to make. Almost the last week you can jump on them, so I'd be happy to jump on one of those 2 guys as well. McRae, another one. If you don't have him, jump on him. Caleb Daniel, another one. A lot of people have already got them though. I like Farrell as an option. Bowie obviously is one I'm considering, so he could be someone you maybe jump on as well. Sinclair and Nasai I like Rankin. There's a lot of options I like, and it is really tricky to give like a top 5. Tom Power I love as well. Like he's probably one of my top targets. I said Nasai I like as well. Frazier, you could go there. Tom Power would be pretty close to my top sort of 2 or 3. I've loved the ways he's played over the first few weeks, and I wish I could bring him in. But that leads me to my trades and what I'm doing for the week. So I've got a couple of options I'm looking at doing. So I did mention that Tom Power, I'm not at the moment bringing him in. So he is an option. But my current trades at the moment is I'm going a Harry Perriman to a Jake Bowie. And on the other end, having the 370k in the bank from going Garcia out last week when he was a sub instead of a Hasty, I can go Sam Wicks all the way up to an Isaac Rankin, which I like. It's a big upgrade. You're getting rid of a guy that's not making any more cash. He's on buy as well. You're getting an Isaac Rankin who's a top 6 forward, I think, and you can slot him into your forward line, and it means that Davidson goes to the bench, and you've got Caleb Daniels, your F6, and soon that'll be probably a Riley Sanders, which round 6 comes. If he's still there, you can put a Levi Ashcroft or a Sam Lawler into your forward line and go Sanders to a midfielder, right? So I like the Rankin play. The other option I've looked at is going Perryman up to Nasiah and Will Day up to Tom Powell. I like that option as well. You're getting 2 players that I'm really keen on. Not much cash, I guess, being generated there, but you're getting 2 guys you're pretty happy with, and you're getting rid of Day, who you don't like over the next 3 weeks, and Perryman, who needs to go. So I like both options, but the Rankin option is what I'm looking at. I've looked at a couple of options as well. Obviously, it's only Wednesday, right? I've still got plenty of time to be planning these trades, but that's currently what I am looking at doing with my trades. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what you guys are doing with your trades this week, and any questions you guys have, put them in the comments below, and I'll answer them as soon as I can get around to doing them. If you enjoyed it, make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to our channel. We're nearly at 3,500, so you guys are smashing the preseason. Like we're really getting closer and closer to 4K, which that's obviously the big goal by the end of the season. If we could reach that, that'd be fantastic. Then we'll go over to 5K, and maybe be halfway to 10K, which would be huge. So appreciate all you guys that have subscribed so far. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. Daily content, obviously, on the channel. So make sure you get involved. Plenty of good content coming your way. Tomorrow, we got captain video. Captain's been going really well. Back-to-back weeks of having some really good captains. So hopefully we can continue that streak of having some good captains for you guys and hopefully for my own team as well. Then obviously pre-lockout chat on Friday. Watch-alongs also Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you guys have never tuned into them, then feel free to jump in. We get a good crowd in, particularly to start the season as well. A lot more people jumping in, which is really good to see. If you want to tune into that, make sure you do. And if you want to come Patreon as well, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. If you want to get extra content in there as well, you get the Ask Me on Q service for free with individual voucher codes as well. So feel free to do that. Or if you want to get your questions answered, head to Ask Me on Q, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics to get your questions answered with a personalised audio response. So the links for both those are in the description. But as I said, we answer your questions in the Friday Pre-Lockout Chat, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Perth time, pretty much directly after the Ball Boys live show as well on Friday. So looking forward to answering even more of your questions there. But thanks, guys, for tuning in as always. Have a good night, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow for the captain video and Friday for a Pre-Lockout Chat. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night. See ya.